I've been out a while and I'm glad to be back. I'm going to turn it over to my host, Kevin Odom, and he'll introduce our distinguished guest for today.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ruben. So glad to have you uh, back on today's show. And hopefully, I won't have to kick your butt and drag you back on here anymore. Moving forward, you'll just automatically show up. So yeah, no, you're right. We do have a distinguished guest, and everybody knows me, so there's no need to introduce myself. But we have an amazing young man on our show today, and let me preface this, okay? I call him a famous guy because to me he's famous. He's more famous than I will ever dream of being. That's number one. Number two, he and I have been playing scheduling tag, right? Computer tag since February, since when I had a surgery for kidney donation. So that being said, finally we got him on.
Glad to be here.
Oh, yes, sir. We appreciate you being here. Everybody, this is Mr. Mark Fox, and thank goodness after 2.5 months, we finally got him on. So, Mr. Fox, for our audience, we're across 45 different platforms, roughly give or take. A lot of our folks are from all walks of life, from professionals to people who are in the midst of, absolute life stress, life struggles, life chaos. So, what would you like for our audience to know first and foremost about you, and then we'll get into the business of why we're here?
Okay, well, we talk about some quote medical stuff, but I'm not a doctor. I'm a rocket scientist. So just to clarify that is, but I, I never planned to get into energy therapy. I'm an ex space shuttle chief engineer. I didn't have anything to do with it. And then it's about 30 years ago, my dog couldn't come up the stairs one day, and I'm like, So flipped a coin to see who was not going to work that day. Took her to the vet, got some X-rays, and she had severe arthritis in her spine. And I was like, and they're like, not a lot we can do for her, give her Rimadyl, that type of thing. And then a veterinarian that was a friend of mine in Houston said, hey, there's this magic machine that has frequencies and energy, and it can reverse arthritis. So that's how I got involved into it. And I'm like, my first reaction was, this is BS. There could be some frequency, energy thing that's going to reverse arthritis. But I looked into it more and more, and, very skeptical 30 years ago. And then it's just like, there's too much data out there that shows it's real, and it's not 100%, but in some cases it's pretty close. And so that's how I got involved in it. Relative to PTSD and trauma, I saw what it could do for PTSD. And that was the first thing that just really pissed me off, is like, this solution exists, but it's $15,000 machine. It's being held hostage in clinical environments, and they're scattered around, half a dozen facilities around the US, and people don't have access to it. So naively, I was like, my undergraduate's chemical engineering. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I'm like, it can't be that hard to take a little printed circuit board and a coil and a battery and make something happen, that's affordable. So it wasn't that easy. There's actually a trade-off of a lot of engineering things to make it work. I had a pile of coils over here in the corner of the room, about 8 feet high, trying to figure out which ones to go, how to make this thing work like it's supposed to. So that's the device. This is the first device we came up with. It looks like a little MP3 player, because it is. It's actually an MP3 player, because all the protocols, all the protocols are actually MP3 files, like songs. And I created on a music synthesizer. And the frequencies come from 35 years, 8,000 practitioners with trial and error. So there's like frequency pairs on there that change every 1 to 4 minutes. So if you think of it like a chord on a guitar, the protocols are songs, right? And the songs are all different. And it's music that your body can hear the energy, but your ears don't hear it. It's not sound. It's just putting a magnetic field out that is a specific song. So that's kind of how I got involved in it. We've got about 5 different products now in the company, but that was the main one that kicked it off, was that product I just showed you. You just put it in your pocket, wear the lanyard around your neck, or put it in your bra if you're a woman, and the protocols run 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. They average about 40 minutes. So the most common ones are PTSD, anxiety, back pain, sleep, neck pain, type 2 diabetes, blood sugar. So those are the ones that are used most, but we have hundreds of people a day contacting us, say, hey, what do I do about such and such? And we're using a lot of AI now that's smarter than all of us, right? To say it's looking at all this data that we've had for a long time, get new data every day that just recommends what protocols and stuff for people to run. But that's what the product is. That's the first product. We've got other ones that are really exciting, I think, but we'll just leave it at that and let you ask some questions from there, so I don't just talk the whole time.
So were you able to, I don't use the word condense, because you said that the way you talk about it is more portable, this device is that you can use?
Yeah, it's
you
very
probably-
portable.
Mhm.
So it's therapy on the go, like I said. So if you go man on the street with a microphone and say, hey, do you know what PEMF is? About 1 out of 15, 1 out of 20 people, and more people are learning about, will know of what a beamer mat is from like a chiropractor's office or a spa.
Okay.
But so that they are familiar, about 1 out of 50, 1 out of 20 are familiar. What's interesting though, in the horse world, 100% of the people know what it is. They know what the technology is because they know what MagnaWave is, and they've had their horse treated with it, or they've seen a horse in their stables or something treated with it. So yeah, it's what we call therapy on the go, because you don't have to lay on a mat and be stationary. You put it in your pocket, you drive, you watch TV, you can take it on an airplane. Anywhere you carry your phone with you, you can get therapy at the same time.
Okay. And what's the cost? Because you said before about it was like $15,000 or something like that before. So what's the cost? Have you been able to make the cost more affordable for people? Or?
Yeah, so it's $499. It's on sale, or excuse me, $399. It's on sale for $299.
Oh.
So it's $300.
Okay.
Now, I would love to get it out to the entire world, but Mark Zuckerberg has all my money. So it costs way more money to make noise and advertise it than it does to make the product, literally, like 5 to 6 times more. So yeah, it's affordable. It's $300, and it's not we've got some of them that have been in the field for this one I have right here is 5 years old, right? So it's not a recurring thing that I go keep buying and stuff. It just recharge it and use it. So.
Okay.
Let me do ask you this, because you remind me the way you were describing it about I went to a training in Seattle back in October, and a lot of the native people uses sound therapy, sound healing, things like that. And so the way you were describing it, like that's where my thought process went, was to what the native people used or still uses as far as a lot of their traditional practices. Does that make sense?
It does. So and I'll tie right into that. Because when you get into PEMF, people go, what is that? Sounds magical, voodoo. It's pulse electromagnetic fields. It's actually the Earth's heartbeat, because you're surrounded in it right now, called the Schumann frequencies. But if you just take it to a higher level, to simplify it, nothing in the world happens without an energy exchange. Nothing.
Sure.
You don't breathe oxygen, you don't chew food, you don't digest food, you don't drive your car, you don't fall down and hurt yourself, you don't make s'mores on a campfire. Everything is an energy transfer. So you can transfer energy to the body 5 different ways. And I got in an argument with a physicist yesterday because he's telling me, you're not explaining that correctly technically, Mark, but I don't care, because the way I'm explaining it makes sense for most people. Okay. Energy can be transferred to the body 1 of 5 ways. Electrical current, like a TENS unit. Most people are familiar with that. Magnetic fields. Yeah, PEMF, magnetic fields, light, vibration, or sound. Sound is what you just said, okay? Is chanting is probably the oldest therapy there is of sound as a healing. So it can be transferred any way, any of those 5 ways. The one the one example I give is light. Everyone has been sunburned. That is an energy transfer of light. So how do you transfer energy to the body? I chose PEMF because it's the most convenient. I don't have to lay on a mat. I don't have wires on me like electrical current on a TENS unit. And you don't have to listen to it. You can actually listen to this device if I put a speaker on it, and it will work therapeutically, but it'll drive you nuts because it's going to go wah, 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 wah. You're going to hear 40 and 116 hertz mixed together, and it's going to make your brain crazy, right? Because I've had people do it. So it's an energy transfer. What it's actually doing to the body, there's a million rabbit holes you can go down, then you get in arguments. But there's 2 things that most people will not argue, and they'll agree. The cells in your body have an electrical voltage like a car battery. When the voltage gets low, you get sick. Okay. or vice versa. So it recharges your cell's batteries. That's been proven multiple times that it increases cell voltage at the membrane. What does that do for you? It allows your cells to get waste products out more efficient and nutrients in. Okay, so it's recharging your cell's batteries. ATP, which is the main chemical that your cells use for food, it increases ATP up to 500%. So those two things, recharge your cell's batteries, increasing the food supply for the cells 500%, allow your body to do what it does best, heal itself. That's the main mechanism of how it works. And there's a whole lot of other cascading details I could go into, but then you start to get into debates and arguments about what it's really doing. So one of the arguments is, well, you got to have a full body mat to get full body coverage because the magnetic field doesn't go very far. It doesn't. From a physics point of view, that's true. But it's resonating with the water in your body like a pebble in a pond, right? It's focused in one place, but it's still transferring through the body because of the water. And if you remember from school, an alternating magnetic field is going to make an alternating electrical current. And your body is electrically conductive. So it's traveling through your whole body with a very, very, very low electrical voltage and current. And then one other thing is magnetite. It was what we believe sea turtles and birds have in their cells. It allows them to migrate to the North and South poles, right? It was discovered, I think, about 20, 25 years ago that humans have magnetite in their cells as well, just at a lot less concentration, which would allow the magnetic field to travel. So bigger is not better when it comes to these things. There's only one guy that's going to tell you that. I'm not going to mention his name. And the reason he says bigger is better because he sells the big machines.
Okay.
And his logic is, hey, to get through the body, the magnetic field's got to be this strong. Yes, it does, but that's not how it's working because it's resonating with the water, electrical conductivity, and magnetite, like I just said. So you can still get full body coverage from a small device that you're just wearing in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So you mentioned earlier about PTSD, and I'm a substance abuse counselor, not a mental health therapist, but I know something about that. So how does that work in relationship to PTSD? I know a lot of times therapists believe, medications to go that route along with talk therapy and all that, for us, helping to manage the PTSD. So how does that work in reference to PTSD?
So think about it this way, because I just said that the frequencies are frequency pairs like a chord on a guitar, and the protocols are songs. I use the analogy of the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees made 180 songs before they had a hit. So it's a lot of trial and error, and it's a bunch of practitioners just trying stuff in the lab to figure out what works since 1990. And PTSD is the most complex one on the entire. It's 76 different frequency pairs that are changing every 1 to 4 minutes. And it came from trial and error to write that song for PTSD. We have, there's basic stuff like 40 hertz is inflammation, 116 is vitality, these things. But it's coming from that. I have a doctor who calls me every week who wrote the PTSD protocol 20 something years ago. She's modified it a couple times. I have as well. But it's kind of, and when people say, where do you put it on the body? It doesn't matter because PTSD is everywhere. It's in every part of your body. If you have it, it's in your cells. And so what is amazing, I think I'm going to make this claim until somebody corrects me, and nobody has yet. We have the largest PTSD study with this technology in the world. We have 98% success rate. That's unbelievable. And it's been 98 for about 4 years now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. And we're basing it on the Veterans Administration's PLC-5, which is, it's a questionnaire that's 20 questions and a rating of from 0 to 4. So the highest you can get is an 80. Anything above 33, the VAs will tell you you likely have PTSD. So 98% of the people that have used this for a month, 3 to 4 times a week for 30 days, saw a reduction in it. Guys, I'm telling you I'll get in trouble for this one analogy I'm going to use, but people forget how bad they felt 30 days ago. And I've talked to a lot of psychiatrists and doctors and stuff, and they're like, yeah, that's because I've had people get on a Zoom call and they'll go, well, it might have helped me a little bit, but I don't know if it really worked. I go, you self-reported a 72 out of 80 30 days ago, and you just reported a 12. And then they start crying. They forgot how bad they felt. And I've got dozens and dozens of these videos where they won't let me put them online because they don't want me to show them crying. But the analogy I use, or the example, the only reason humans exist is that women can forget how painful the first birth was.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way they have a second baby. Because if they didn't have a second baby, none of us would be here, because two people making one person isn't enough. Right? So I think it's we're programmed, humans are programmed to forget that kind of pain. I have a friend I've known since kindergarten, who's a chiropractor. We were having this conversation. He goes, Mark, every person that comes in to my office, I videotape them because they come in on a walker, then they come in on a cane, then they come on with a lap dog. And then they go, well, I could always do this. I'm like, no, you couldn't. 3 months ago, you couldn't walk. Right? So people kind of forget how bad they felt. And so that's it's kind of a weird thing. And so we have surveys that we do. We have all kinds of biomarkers. This is our new watch. So it has heart rate variability, blood pressure, blood sugar, sleep. And you can measure all these things with a biomarker to show it's working as well. The third thing is really so simple to show that it's working, is ask your friends and family if you're doing better. And people they just laugh when I tell them that, because they go, my wife wanted a divorce. She doesn't anymore. My kids didn't want to hang out with me. Now they do. I have one guy on a video said, hey, you're right, Mark, because Steve invited me to the picnic, the 4th of July picnic, and he hasn't for years. And I asked him, why did you invite me this year? He goes, because you weren't being a dick anymore. This is his answer, right? So it's like, ask the people around you. And we have lots and lots of cases where the teacher will call the parents and say, hey, little Jimmy's ADHD is way better at school. You changed his meds, didn't you? No, we didn't. We just got this thing.
Okay.
I'll tell you how we actually get most our wholesalers with the doctors, because doctors aren't trained on any of this stuff, right? MDs do not have any recurring training except what the drug company teaches them at a resort once a year, right? So they're not
sell pills.
Yeah, how to sell pills, and here's the new medication and drug. So this is very, very typical with blood sugar, type 2 diabetes. They'll come into the doctor's office. The doctor go, hey, your A1C is 5.3. It's never been below 8. So you finally change your diet and stuff like I told you to for 10 years. And they go, nope, I'm using this thing. They go, what the hell is this? And they grab it and they call me and they go, well, this can't work. Well, it does. That's literally, I used to get one new wholesaler a month. I probably get 2 a day now, just from that kind of action of customers going and telling them, hey, this stuff works, try it. So that part's exciting.
Well, I can imagine as far as frequency, because I don't know I have sleep apnea and I have a device implanted in my chest. They probably talk about it on television a lot, the commercial Inspire. You heard that before?
Yes.
Well, I have an Inspire device and I have a remote. And I guess what I'm assuming when you're talking about frequency and all that, it kind of works with that because the device is activated, and it keeps my tongue, and when I go to sleep at night, a certain position. So just wondering for us, that type of technology could help with other things like sleep apnea.
Sleep for sure. Sleep apnea we have not tested, but let me throw a warning out there is if the thing inside of you has electronics in it, right, like a pacemaker or insulin pump, I'm going to give you the standard answer that everyone in this industry is going to give you for safety reasons, so I don't go to jail. Okay. If you got a pacemaker, you're pregnant, don't use it, because there's a chance that the magnetic field could screw up the pacemaker. Now, that's Mark's official answer. Now, here's my unofficial answer, since we're on this fun podcast. For years, people with a pacemaker needed to get an MRI, and they couldn't have one because of the MRI. So then the doctors finally went, you know what? You're going to die anyway. We don't look inside of you. So do you want to take the chance? And they finally went, okay. So they stood there. Nobody has ever died from an MRI except one woman. One. She didn't have a pacemaker. An oxygen tank flew across the room and hit her in the head. Yeah. So this thing puts out 9 Gauss, and MRI puts out 50,000 Gauss. We do 1 million MRIs a year, and nobody's died from it. Now, that's the unofficial answer, right? It ain't going to hurt your pacemaker, but and it ain't going to do anything about pregnancy either, but the first deformed baby that comes out from using this device is, right? So I use this all the time. Correlation does not mean causation, right? There's a perfect correlation of consumption of ice cream and drownings. Did you know that? It's a perfect correlation. The amount of ice cream that's consumed is a perfect correlation with the number of people that drown. That's because more ice cream is consumed in the summer and more people swim in the summer.
Okay.
So ice cream doesn't allow you to drown. We've had multiple people call us up and go, "Your stupid device made me," and they start screaming at you, "Made me sick. I hate you. I'm going to sue you." I'm like, "Go get a COVID test and shut up." 100% of them had a positive COVID test. So they just acquired COVID at the time they started to use the device.
Right. Okay.
Right. So you got to get careful. That kind of thing is like, I make an immediate assumption about it. Did something. I go, no, it didn't. There's something else going on. So.
Well, do let me ask, because you're speaking about a thing that could be considered medical technology, right? I don't know if it's FDA approved as a medical technology. I know a lot of devices are out there. So that's going to be my first question. My second question is, where does insurance come into play at?
Okay, so the first question, excuse me. Usually when somebody asks me, is it FDA approved? The answer I tell them, and they give me the Jungle Book look in their eyes after I tell them, is it's an FDA general wellness device. And they go, and then you see in their brain, they're going, he didn't say yes, he didn't say no, but he said FDA something. So they just move on. Okay. An approved device is 1 in 100,000 devices. They're very, very, very rare. That takes 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars to get it approved. You actually don't ever want to be FDA approved because then you can only use it for that. So if I got it FDA approved for sleep, I could not use it for sleep apnea or back pain or neck pain. The next level down from the FDA is a 510K or cleared device, which means my duct looks like your duct that looked like that duct that was approved in 1957. And that's literally 510Ks and how it's the stupidest, most ridiculous thing ever. But in fact, John Oliver did a whole hour thing on his show about stuff that are actually 80 devices removed from the original one that was approved. Okay. Mm-hmm. The third level down, and there's 2 ways people will go. So any of these devices in this space that's more than 10 years old is going to probably be 510K cleared. Anything that's newer than that is going to be one of 2 things. An FDA general wellness device, which means you self-certify it. There's no paperwork to fill out. You just follow the guidelines from the FDA. Half of the people like me are going to say it's an FDA general wellness device. The other half are going to be just like the supplement world, and they're going to say, this hasn't been evaluated by the FDA, and just drop it. So it's about a 50-50 mix, because I know every one of my competitors, obviously, that's out there that just choose one of those 2. I like to say it's an FDA wellness device because it says the word FDA, but it's not, quote, a medical device, because you can't say that. So it's a therapy device. And the rules are so weird, because like in the general wellness rules, it says you can't make any claims at all. Category A. Category B is you can help live well with your condition. So you can't treat, diagnose, or cure anything. Let me give you some examples of what that means. I didn't treat, diagnose, or cure diabetes, but you're shooting 10 units of insulin a day instead of 80. So you're sticking yourself with less needles and it costs less. Mm-hmm. I didn't cure your back pain, but you went from a self-reported 10 to a 2. So you're living better. You were sleeping 3 hours a day. Now you're sleeping 8 hours a day. I didn't fix your sleep problem completely, but you're living better. So I can go through every one of those 60 protocols and say, it improves your life or living well with that condition. Mm-hmm. Same with PTSD. I can't say I cured it or treated it. I just say you went from a 72 to a 12 and your friends don't think you're a dick anymore.
But I think with a lot of chronic illnesses, that's what they look at, like with diabetes. Of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but I don't think there's a cure for diabetes, but there's ways to manage the symptoms of diabetes, like insulin or other medications. So I understand that concept. A lot of people who have different illnesses like chronic pain, they use medications to help manage those symptoms. So like you and your device, if I'm able to manage it and my quality of life is better, that's definitely a plus. Yeah.
For sure. And there is an argument of whether you can, quote,
that's why I didn't want to say.
See, quote, cure diabetes, but here, everyone disagrees. It's insane in 2026 that we don't know what the proper human diet is. We still don't. We don't know what we're supposed to eat. Here's the only thing, in my opinion, that everyone will agree on. Sugar is evil. That's it. Everyone agrees with that one. So if you got type 2 diabetes, stop eating sugar and that means pasta and bread. GPS, grains, potatoes, and sugar. I know tons and tons of people that have dropped their A1C from 8 to 5 by just doing that, right? Just get rid of sugar, and it's not a teaspoon of sugar. It's GPS. Grain. There's a very good TED talk on that. I forget the woman's name. She's a doctor. Limit the GPS, grains, potatoes, and sugar. It's keto diet or something near keto, it's restricting carbs is going to lower your blood sugar for the vast majority of people.
Okay. So Trevor, you just joined us. You have any questions you want to ask?
Hey, Trevor.
How you doing, Mark? I'm really excited that you're here with us on this podcast, and I'm excited to be here today because I actually had the day off, so it worked out pretty good.
Great to see you.
So Ruben had mentioned something about PTSD, and I'm thinking, what about the complex PTSD? And for me, I really don't give a crud about FDA anything, because most of the time there's so much that's submitted to them that doesn't get approved, and it's in perfectly good shape for people to use to assist other people. And that's a type of therapy or whatever. So I kind of have the oddball out opinion on a lot of this, but that's okay. I'm just willing to learn. I'm glad to be here with you guys today, and still open-minded.
Your question about different categories of PTSD, honestly, I just said, I don't care which one it is. If it's
right,
just calling it trauma, PTSD, if you've had something bad in your life that's causing you to not, I mean, it's kind of interesting because all the protocols, I came to this realization by looking at the study we're doing on dogs right now, is everything kind of comes down to stress and pain. Those two things, right? So I'm like, I want to use I don't get that specific, right, on the different PTSD. It's like stress and pain. So like, I wanted to get we have a thing, we have a Fitbit for a dog and a horse now. And it's, so we can see heart rate variability, all this stuff on, and run these therapies. But it's like, okay, I want to use the standard PLC-5 for Veterans Administration PTSD. What is it for pain and stress in a dog? It doesn't exist. There is no standard in the veterinary world. So I had to create it. I just created a survey with AI's help, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I can do that for horses. Why don't I just do it for people? So we're actually running a study now, instead of specifically looking at PTSD or anxiety or sleep, we're letting the cohorts in the study run whatever protocols they want for whatever's broken. And then we're just measuring overall, did their pain and stress in life improve? So that's a survey that doesn't exist either, that I created, right? So we had our own studies and stuff that we're making up with our own tools to go measure it, because I'm waiting for a doctor to yell at me. I'm like, why doesn't this work? Because that's basically what it boils down to: stress and pain. Stress and pain. Lack of sleep is stress. Depression is stress. Pain, back pain, neck pain, arthritis, inflammation, all those things. So they all kind of fall into those two categories. So yeah, the honest answer, and Trevor, to be honest, I didn't know there was subsets of PTSD when I started the study 4 years ago. I just started with PTSD, and I was targeting the military. But then what I found out, of course, is, okay, well, there's first responders, right? Medical workers. They have it's not just the military. They got to go see broken legs, heads chopped off, car wrecks, all that stuff. And then I have learned there's probably more trauma and PTSD with civilian women who have shitty boyfriends, husbands, miscarriages, bad kids. The amount of stress stuff is, and then you learn weird things. Is the number one cause of PTSD. What do you guys think it is in the United States? Number one cause?
Traumatic situations.
Car wrecks.
Oh wow. Okay.
Car wrecks, because people remember the day, they remember the location. They don't want to go through that intersection or that bridge. They don't want to go. They remember when they drove to Tom's birthday last year, they got in an accident. So they're stressed out about the birthday coming up, right? So yeah, 44,000 car wrecks a day or whatever it is we have in the United States, is like the number one cause of trauma and PTSD in people.
Now, this device that you have, it it provides a small electrical
It's a magnetic field, so it's PEMF.
magnetic. Okay.
Field. But we have multiple devices. So I just showed this one. This is the Vibe. It's the first product that we built. It has 60 protocols. It's as simple as I could make it. It's alphabetical. You pick the one you want, you hit play, put it in your pocket. That's too complex for some people. So I made this one. You turn it on. It's a vagus nerve toner. Wear it as a piece of jewelry. That's it.
Oh, that's
Okay.
cool.
The thing, and I'm super, super, super excited about this. Not pushing my products, but I'm just going to show it real fast. This Blue Vibe for cognitive impairment. It's got PEMF. Excuse me. Let's pull it out of the holder. It's got PEMF at 40 hertz and blue light. You see the blue light therapy?
Yep.
You go like this, put it on the back of your neck. So we just completed our clinical trials on this. Guys, we have 100% success rate. Improving cognitive impairment. 100.
So that could work good for someone that might have a traumatic brain injury.
It could. We just haven't tested that directly, but what we did was we used a survey called PROMIS, which is one of the ones that's mostly used by NIH. It's a PROMIS acronym, is a 5-letter acronym. So we used that survey to measure the improvement. And this is kind of funny, guys, because in the medical world, if listeners aren't familiar, medical people think they're really clever because they're the only ones that use statistics backwards. Okay. Everyone else in the world would say there's a 95% probability it worked. Instead, the medical world says there's a 0.5% chance it wasn't due to chance. That's a stupid way to say the same thing, but that's what the medical world does. So in the medical world, if the P factor is below 0.05, that means it's statistically significant. So I wasn't even a third of the way done with the study, and the P factor was already 0.00001. And I was like, I don't even want to look at my data anymore because I don't want new data to change it and dilute it. But I was like, that's unethical. You can't do that, Mark. You started the study. You got to get all the data. I even asked ChatGPT, is this unethical for me to quit looking? Yeah, it is, Mark. You need to keep looking at the data. So we got our study finished, and it's like 100% so far. So we're super excited about it. I'll give you one quick story because I just saw her again yesterday. This nurse, she's my nurse, wellness center. And she's super polite, this Puerto Rican nurse, and she's never interrupted a conversation. And then she comes up, I'm talking to a new participant, and she comes just kind of, excuse me, and pushes him out of the way a little bit and goes, Mark, this thing is unbelievable. My mother's 83 years old. She doesn't have depression anymore, and none of us knew she had depression, including herself. We've just concluded now, and she told us, I must have been depressed because now I'm not. She's ordering groceries from Publix on her phone, Mark. She doesn't even know how to do that. She's having conversations. I questioned whether this is my mother. Then I went over there the other day and she was dancing, playing music on her phone. And it's like, how do you know how to play music on your phone? You don't even know how to call somebody on your phone. And she's like, I got Spotify now, right? She signed up for Spotify and is playing music. This is a real story, right? So we're getting that kind of feedback from people that's super exciting. The good news, bad news is I don't have any of them. I keep selling out as soon as I get them. We were supposed to have another shipment show up today. You said I'm not allowed to bring up politics, but our president's stopping my stuff. All those damn tariffs, okay? So now it's supposed to come next week. But we have told all our customers today, sorry, the reason it's not here today is our president. He's screwing with too many tariffs. And it's crazy because it used to have a 1-month invoice for suppliers. Now they're good for 24 hours.
Wow.
Literally 24 hours because they don't know what it costs to send anything. Because we're changing the law and the rules every day. It's insane. But anyway, that's all the politics you will get from me.
So back to insurance. Do you accept insurance, private, Medicaid, anything of that sort, grant funding, anything of that sort?
Well, it's not Medicaid or Medicare, any of that. The question we get asked the most is, will HSA cover this? And the answer is there's an infinite number of HSAs. I don't know. Go ask them, right? Because every HSA has a different rule. What we tell people is tell them it's a TENS unit because it's the closest thing, because they're not going to know what PEMF is. Tell them it's a TENS unit and see if they'll cover it. But no, it's not. There's no insurance code or anything because it's not in the medical. It's not a medical device in the medical world. I wish it was, but I'm 64 years old. My runway is not long enough to even care about trying to get that approved. Kind of with the Veterans Administration, the guy in charge of the Department of PTSD at the VA said, Mark, this thing's awesome, but I can't say anything about it because that means I'm endorsing it. This is when I was trying to give him away for free to get data, and he still wouldn't take them for free because that's an endorsement by the government. I'm like, we had a 2-star, I have 30 of these at the Pentagon. There's a 2-star general that said, if this really works for PTSD, every person should have it as standard issue. No kidding. How do we make that happen? And he's like, well, I'm not the procurement guy. Here's how you actually, it's disgusting. You have to hire a lobbyist for $20,000 a month for 2 to 3 years, and maybe something will happen. Literally, that's how you get this approved with the VA. So I don't have much time and money for that. I got to go different routes. So yeah, long answer to your insurance question. No, it's not covered by insurance. It's a short answer.
Yeah.
Now, would this product be kind of cohesive to a thing called grounding? Like they talk about, okay, because of the electrical field, right?
Yes, sort of. My feet are on a grounding mat right now, and it's the opposite. So this is going to put energy into your body. The grounding mat's going to take out bad ions. It's going to pull the bad energy out. So it's the same concept, but it's going the other way. So it's pulling bad ions and stuff out of these grounding mats. Now, when I first heard of grounding mats, I'm like, that's complete BS. It can't actually work. And then there's 21 double-blind studies that show it does work. So I'm like, okay. And I read them all. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go buy one of these things. And it does work. That grounding sheets and grounding mats and stuff, what you do, you're plugging it into the wall, and all it's doing is using the ground plug. It doesn't have a plug for the power part. Right. There's no power going to it, but yeah.
You know, with medications, oftentimes, I mean, they do studies with the placebo effect and all that stuff. So have you ever had people to say they probably would have got better anyway, or, you know, that kind of concept and that kind of jargon?
Yeah. So I wrote an article called Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire for all the Facebook haters and death threats that I've had. Literally, I had to go hire somebody 2 years ago because I can't even be on Facebook anymore. It drives me crazy. Now, the placebo effect. Yes, there has to be some placebo effect. How much there is, I don't know. But it's not 100% placebo. It can't be because of all the studies. Now, when I get in an argument with the Facebook haters, I'll go, you know what? If it's 100% placebo, I don't care when somebody has a gun in their mouth and now they don't.
Right.
They're still with us, right? So I've tried to do double-blind studies and stuff with it, but I got to go. I don't have any funding, man. It's me and the fish behind me, right? I don't have any investors. For me to go make a version of this that is a placebo that does everything that looks like it's doing something, I got to make another one, right? Another design that I just don't have money and time to go do that. So we've had to rely on what I said before and after surveys, biomarker data, and do people feel better and is their life better? You know,
and that's the main thing. Sure. Yeah.
You know, so when people say on animals, and I used to say this and I've changed my own tune. It's like, well, there's no placebo effect with an animal. I'm like, and I've said that over and over again for years, and I've changed my mind. Yeah, there is. An animal or a horse or dog knows you're trying to take care of them, right? If you, like my dog, when she had ear mites, would hate that I'd hold her down and take Q-tips and clean her ears and put drops in her ears. But somehow she knows her human is doing something to help her. Even I don't know what it is. Yeah. So there's probably is a placebo effect with a horse or a dog or a cat because you're doing something for them, even though they don't completely understand it. So I'm the only person I know that's saying, because I've had doctors say, well, just do it on animals. There's no placebo effect. Have you ever tested that? Because what if you just shot them with something that was nothing, right? So they don't do that, right? So, but yeah, even if it is placebo and it's not, it's just too many.
I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, if this doesn't raise the hair on your arms, then you're not human. Okay, I'm going to tell you this one.
Right.
17-year-old girl said, Mark, no, I'll never have a date in my life because I have Tourette's. I'm a monster at school. I get bullied every day. It's awful. I ran the brain balancing protocol and my Tourette's disappeared. And I have a date Saturday night. That was 3 years ago, and she married the guy now. Her Tourette's disappeared. I didn't tell her to run brain balancing. Now, I can't explain how it did that, but it did. Now, that's an N of 1 for Tourette's. that I know of, but her life is way better, right? She's married and she's not a monster anymore.
Right. Hey, I apologize. I have a therapy session where with a client of mine at 4, so I have to get ready for that. So I apologize. Nice meeting you. It is very interesting information. And Trevor and Kevin, I'm glad to be back on, and I'll look forward to more sessions. So take care, everybody.
We
Glad
sure
to have
looking forward to it.
Glad to have you. I'm glad that Trevor and I didn't give up on getting you back on after taking a year and some change off, all because of a hip
All right.
surgery a year ago.
I never give up on you, Ruben. Never.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for
Have a
good
blessed
weekend.
day, big brother.
All right.
I was glad to see him come on today. I didn't think he was being for real, but I am glad that he is back.
Great.
So,
Great to meet him.
with that being said, have you published any of your articles or any of your research in like any type of research journals, or is it more like the research published on your websites, things like that?
We've written our own reports. I've had third-party people run studies as well in our reports, but we don't have any published data. And honestly, I don't care because I don't have time to go do that. I've submitted stuff for it and nothing ever happens. Here's an interesting, it came out, the cholesterol code. Y'all go watch it on Amazon. So, and I know some of the guys in that movie, right? He was just stunned that he went to the American Medical Association with all this data and they wouldn't accept his paper. Yeah, American Medical Association, excuse me, the American Heart Association isn't going to accept that stuff because they're pushing drugs, right? So I recently submitted the Blue Vibe study to a paper in Prague or something to come present it. It doesn't happen. I have a veterinarian on my staff now who is hired to do that, goes publish papers and goes speak and stuff at conferences. But it's one of those, that's what doctors do because they think it makes them famous. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. I don't have time and money to go do that because it doesn't get accepted in most cases because it doesn't fit the norm. It doesn't fit. I mean, Dr. Ken Berry, if you don't know him, go watch some of his stuff. He'll beat the crap out of the American Heart Association. It's like, they're never going to go change their mind from 50 years of what they've been telling everybody. I'm probably here's an example. I'm probably one of the only people you ever meet that actually reads the dietary guidelines that come out every 5 years, right? So for your whole life, they've told you eggs are horrible. Eggs have cholesterol. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. The last one that came out, there's so much evidence that eggs are good for you. I'm like, I'm just waiting for them to go, eggs are good. You know what they did? They skipped the eggs. They just stopped talking about them. They didn't say eggs are now good and we were wrong. They just didn't mention eggs anymore. It's like, so that's a long answer to your question. Is it's not a priority for me. I'm trying to like not go broke because I don't make any money. Zuckerberg has all of it. We've lost money every month this year so far. And I'm trying to get out of that because the pay-per-click is killing me. And Google, Facebook can change your algorithm in a second and put you out of business, which they do lots of times. Here's how evil Zuckerberg is. This is how evil he is, guys. The one benefit I get out of this, because I spend so much money on marketing, I have 4 million points on my card, my credit card. So I get to travel for free. He has now decided, some bean counter told him, you're losing $2 to $3 billion a year in pure profit because you allow advertisers to use credit cards and you got to pay the credit card fee. So get rid of credit cards and make them all do ACHs. That's what he's going to do. I hope everyone just stops advertising on Facebook. But that is the announcement that he made, and he's periodically going out to people and making them stop using their credit card. Like, damn, that's the only thing I had. Was a huge benefit, right? It's like you don't have to pay for hotels. But anyway.
Well, I think you bring up a lot of good points, though, because I am also a therapist myself, and part of what I clinically teach about is, and I was just talking to other therapists the other day about the same deal, is the medical association or the medical industrial complex has gotten to a point where oh my God, it's a pill for every fucking ill. Excuse my English there, but not excuse my English because it's the truth, right? It's a pill for every damn ill. It's like, when are we going to get back to this concept of let's focus on the whole person, not just a pill for every damn ill? And the medical field, the healthcare field, including the behavioral health field, has gotten away from that. I've only known a few psychiatrists and people who work in the healthcare field that or have the ability to prescribe, um, and their thought process is very similar. Like, if I have the option to prescribe a vitamin that's going to do the same thing as the psychiatric medication over here, why am I going to prescribe a psychiatric medication when it's got the potential for some severe side effects? Why not just prescribe something that is natural and healthier, significantly healthier for the individual, right? And I've only met a few people who don't believe in that code, a pill for every ill. And it's sad that we've gotten to this point in society that all I want is a quick fix, and it's
Right.
sad. And so I encourage, and no, anybody who's listening, I'm not in disagreement with medicine. I believe in medicine. I think we all believe in medicine. We're just looking at the totality of what we have rushed into and what we continue to rush forward to. And my encouragement is, let's slow down and focus on the whole person, not just a pill for every damn ill.
Yeah, for sure. And what I said earlier, right, it is they're not doctors aren't necessarily bad people, right? That's their continuing education is, for most of them, is what the drug companies teach them, right, on the offside. So most people that come to this technology are either long-term in physical or mental pain, and nothing else. The pills didn't help them, or the side effects are too overwhelming. So that's why they go search on their own for something else. It's very seldom the doctor's going to go tell them, hey, try this PMF therapy. It's people going researching what else is out there. People like me that are spending all their retirement money on Facebook ads, trying to make noise so people learn about this stuff, right? And there's more and more people doing that. You'll see more and more of it. But you're right. I remember my mother, she was on like 14 pills or something a day, and then they cut her back to like 3, and she was way healthier, right? And the average American, if you do or don't know this, is on 4 medications. 4. Nobody in the world has ever done a cross study on those combinations of medicines and what they do. Nobody, all right? It'd be impossible. It'd be infinite. The number of drugs out there, let's pick a number. Let's say there's 10,000, and each person's on 4. Nobody in the world could have tested all of those combinations to even know if they're safe. Is it safe to take the blue, red, orange, and green one together? Nobody's ever tested that. So yeah, the pill for every ill with 4 pills per person is insane.
I agree. And I think you're right. I'm not an expert in medical research at all, but 4 pills that have never been studied, right? Let's just say on the average here, 4 pills that are different from each other that have never been studied in combination together in one research study, right? That is what scares me. I was given medication one time, and they were telling me to, stop taking natural supplements, and I was taking natural supplements, and it's interesting because I ended up having a suicide attempt that was medication induced. I stopped taking the medication, no more severe highs and
Right.
lows, right? And for anybody who's listening, if you do have any struggles or anything, please utilize your resources. 988 for the local national crisis hotline. You have 911 local crisis centers, local hospitals. If you live in the western in the Western Hemisphere, 988 911 is almost universal. Last time I checked, in the Western Hemisphere. So please utilize your resources if you are triggered over what I just said. But it's reality is I believe in treating the whole person, and this is another part of treatment for the whole person. I can't, of course, clinically say, oh yeah, go out here and use this, right?
Right.
But if people want to ask questions, and do their own research, for sure, do it. Like, do your own research.
The thing you just said there, do your own research. I want to bring up just emphasizes that orders of magnitude. statins, and I'm just going to get my soapbox for a minute. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you any advice on that. But here's what I'm going to tell you if you go do your own homework. The statins were the most profitable drug ever produced in the history of mankind. It's so evil. I'm going to get pissed just talking about it, that these people are not all in jail, right? They did what's called a run-in period. So they put everyone on the drug. Excuse me. 35% of the people, 35 had severe muscle pain. They threw them out of the study and said, now we're starting the study now without those people in it. Do you know how unethical and how criminal that is? Worse than that, the guy that ran the study that generated the trillions and trillions of statin drugs sales, he claims by law and contract that he can't release the data and have anyone look at it. It's never been peer reviewed. That's
total bullshit.
It is?
No, I mean, for him to do that.
Yeah, he did. I thought you said I'm full of shit. No.
No. I'm agreeing with you.
That guy should be in jail, and he's still alive. And he's like, nope. That data is locked in a safe, and nobody's allowed to review it. And he's using some contract excuse. It's because they don't want anyone to see it. The run-in period is just like, how criminal is that? All of my friends, when the doctor tells them to get on statins, like, I'm going to kill you. Here's how bad it is, guys. My doctor did it to me. Okay. You need to go on statins. Your cholesterol is 120. I don't care at all about LDL. Here's all the research. I've done it for you. I've summarized it right here. And I handed it to her. She went just like this, guys. Turned her head and said, I'm not going to review that. Why? I'm going to do what the American Medical Association tells me to do and nothing else. I go, do you know how pathetic that is? That you don't want to learn anything new? No, because the vast majority don't want to get sued, right? Or if they get sued, they want the power of the AMA behind them. Says, I followed their guidelines and did what I was supposed to do, right? That's sickening. So my friends, just two things, blood pressure and cholesterol. I'm probably going to know more than any person you meet on those two things because they're in my personal life and I've had to fight them since I was a kid, right? Is the fact, I mean, anyone can go Google this on cholesterol. NIH study, they did a meta-analysis of all of the studies that says LDL is not harmful. But you know what? Did that ever make the news? No. Right? The whole LDL thing is just, anyway, I got my soapbox about that. And here's my trick question, because I'm 64. When somebody says your blood pressure's high, I go, what should it be for a 60-year-old person? Huh? And they go, ooh, crap, he's tricking me. I know it's supposed to be was 180, 120 over 80, and then they moved it to 115 over 75 without any data, because I've researched that. There's nothing that says 115 over 75 is better than 120 over 80. There is a ton of data. The largest meta-analysis done that says if you're over 60, your blood pressure should be 140, 150 over 90 to live the longest. No doctor's going to tell you that, or very few of them, but the data's there and it's been published. But that sells less medication, right?
Yeah.
And like people say, hey, we get twice as many people with type 2 diabetes as we did 20 years ago. We changed the goalposts. We changed what A1C and sugar levels, because when sugar test used to be 129 and went below 99. Wait a minute, time. Why did you change that 30 points? There's not a single doctor. I haven't found anyone in the world can tell you, except that's what the drug companies did, and Quest and those guys, that's what they measure now. Anyway, that is awful, because to your point, do your own homework. Don't get off your medications, all that stuff. I'm not a doctor, but do your own damn homework, right? I do my homework for my friends, staple it to their head. Go read this damn thing, because you're an idiot for taking statins if your LDL is 110, right? Dr. Ken Berry and that movie, the cholesterol code that just came out, but Dr. Ken Berry, he quit the medical profession, he's an MD, because of all this stuff. And he's teaching what's real. You know what his cholesterol is? 380. And I asked him, he's on a podcast all the time. What do you tell people when they ask you if your heart's going to explode? Or aren't you worried about it? He goes, no, show me the data that says it is. Because there's no data that says it is. And he's right. Anyway, ask me some more questions. Outside 4 o'clock or whatever time we got left.
That reminds me of when I presented some information to my oncologist about flavostatins, not statins,
Flavonoid?
flavoalkaloids that is predominantly exclusively out of the leaves of cannabis plants that can be applied to cure cancer with. And it's a process. It's going through it in South Africa right now. Anyways, when I presented her this information, she's like, totally just did the same thing that you said your doctor did for you and just totally dismissed it. Now I'm going to stay stuck with the information that we know of the AMA and this, that, and the other. There's always some reasonization to discard what people really know, either about themselves or what they are proving that is being discovered about things that are more naturally viable for us to use for free. They get really pissed. They get really pissed because you give them information, they just totally discard it. And they just because they've gone to school. And I'm not, I've got less than associate's degree in college credit for criminal justice. And I got my GED in 91 and I had my high school diploma in 93. But the process of learning never ends. And so being engaged in this conversation is really important to me because I went from stage 1 lung cancer to thoracic surgery to remove a 1.7 by 1.3 centimeter nodule. And then I met my oncologist and all of a sudden I'm stage 3B. And I went through like 5 sessions of chemo. I'm going through immunotherapy, which is a clinical trial, not even a substantiated cure for anything. They're just putting me through it and I'm going through it, but I don't feel any different. I'm like, well, if they only had to take out a 1.7 by 1.3 centimeter nodule, there you go. My body is designed by my higher power, my creator, to heal itself. I'm going to use whatever there is available naturally to do that because it combines. So I said something about grounding. I think it was some monks back in the 1200s that they started sleeping on the ground or on the floor of the monasteries, and they were getting good sleep and rest and everything because they were connected to the energy in the sense of it grounding them. And so I'm like in a deep state of thinking, combining it with this PMF, you said?
PEMF, yes.
Okay. And that stands for?
Pulse electromagnetic fields.
Okay. And good grief, everything's got an electrical charge in it. You want to have a good charge so that everything works right, just like you talked about a little bit earlier. I mean, even though I jumped into this a few minutes late, and I apologize for that, Kevin, and you, I'm like on point with the thinking part of this. And I'm no professional in any way at all.
Real quick, what you said made me think of a couple different things. So PEMF and electrical, so your body's chemical, electrical, and mechanical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take any of those out is stupid when you're trying to analyze how something works. It's Dale Carnegie and Rockefeller are the ones that screwed up 1934. Okay? They own the medical industry, and Rockefeller owned all the oil, okay? Standard Oil. He figured out that we make drugs out of oil. So they basically said, if you do anything but surgery and drugs, we're going to pull your medical license and we're going to stop funding your university. That's what happened. So the electrical stimulation, electrical therapy in the United States, all that stuff got scrapped, or 99.99% of it. People didn't do it anymore. Old machines, and the history's gone, right? The rest of the world didn't do that, right? We're the only ones that did that. So we're catching back up, trying to, in the electrical world. But another thing you said too, there's a comedian in 1970, his name was Rich Hall, and he had a thing called sniglet. Yeah. And sniglets are words that aren't in the dictionary but should be. And one of them is boson. Boson is an invisible gas that stops new ideas from getting in. So bozo and ozone. Quit surrounding yourself with boson. And the Liar Pants on Fire article that I wrote, I said, hey, let me tell you about the largest scams in the world. MRIs, DNA sequencing, CRISPR, satellites, right? GPS.
Yeah.
So I listed 300 things that are absolutely positively impossible until they weren't, right? And everyone in the world has one of these now. That was impossible 30 years ago. Impossible, right? So keep an open mind, because you don't know what. I used to teach 4 times a year at Los Alamos National Labs, smartest nuclear physicists in the world, and I'm just a dumbass chemical engineer, so I know they're not going to listen to me. So when I walk in, I have this big chart of the history of physics, and I don't make eye contact with them. I just go, okay, 1740, you're wrong here. Then 12 years later, you're wrong again. And 20 years later, you're really, really wrong. So I go through the whole list. I have them slouching in their chairs, and I turn around and I said, based on that, there's a 98% probability your doctoral thesis is bullshit and it's worthless. So I have to tenderize their brain and beat them up for 10 minutes before I actually start talking to them about creative thinking, because they think they are everything in the world, right? So if you did a little research on an MRI, Mark's opinion, an MRI is the most magical thing ever invented by a human being. It is the most magical thing in the world ever invented. I built rockets. Rockets are easy compared to an MRI. I'm going to give you a short version of what it is, okay? The protons in your body have a north and south pole like the Earth, and they're tilted.
Mm-hmm.
And trillions of them that are random, okay? You put somebody in an MRI, you hit them with 50,000 Gauss. It makes all of those line up like a laser, okay? That's magic number one. So every one in your body is lined up like a laser. Then you literally take AM and FM radio, and you turn in a dial of what you want to look at. So like the heart's 100, I'm making the number up, 107.4 megahertz AM, right? And blood is this, and you dial that number in and you hit them with the radio waves, okay? Then you turn the radio off and the MRI machine off. That's what that clicking is. It's going on and off. When you turn it off, all of those protons in your body, they go back to randomness. And when it does that, your body goes, ah, and it pukes a bunch of energy. And that energy is captured on a Fourier transform.
Okay.
That is what your X-ray looks like on an MRI. Now, we do 1 million of those a year, and nobody goes, hey, they don't question the magic of how it got there, right? And nobody's going to ever, probably never heard the explanation I just gave you of how MRI works. And then I tell doctors this when they get into their mechanism of action, you got to prove exactly how it works. You can't use it. And I go, stop. And most doctors can't get this bridge, which is frustrating. Have you ever heated a slice of pizza in a microwave oven? And they go, huh? Well, of course you have. How does it work? And they go, it's probably a trick question from a rocket scientist. Well, tell me how it works. And you go, well, the microwave kind of, it does stuff. And you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Here's the theory. The theory is it's the rotational energy of a water molecule. Meaning if whatever it is, 423 hertz, I forget what it is, but the rotational water molecule spinning on its own axis causes friction that heats up the food. Nobody in the history of the world has ever photographed or videotaped a spinning water molecule because the technology doesn't exist. So it's still a theory. You can't prove it, but you can still heat your damn pizza and you use it every day. So that's the argument I always have with doctors of what's the mechanism of action? You can't use this thing around unless I know exactly how it works. Go screw yourself. Okay. You don't know how it actually works, and you never will. You can have theories on it, but that isn't important. Does it make people better? So I always tell them, coming from a rocket scientist, I actually don't care about the science. I care about getting something affordable out there that people can use, and it helps them, you know?
That's kind of the same process that I deal with a person that's a clinician, a clinical therapist. And I presented the idea to that individual that, well, psychology is really a theory, isn't it? He's like, oh yeah, it is. I'm like, okay, so yeah, it blows people's minds in the sense of to give them a different aspect of what they think it should be about. And you present it to them and then they just ignore it and just accept what they constantly are bombarded with as knowledge, head knowledge.
Right.
Like that's the best way. So yeah, my mind will definitely always be open to learning more every single day. I actually have probably a 25-year-old T-shirt that says "Rocket Scientist" on it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of society has gotten to a point where we think, and I say a lot, and even therapists and doctors too, that just because it's research and just because it's science does not mean it's proven.
Right.
Even
Right.
theory of gravity
But it's
is not proven at all. It's just a theory. Nobody has ever since whatever his name was that figured it out and theorized on it. How much more research have we done since the early times on gravity? Right? It was just we take it as being objective, and it's 100% proof and it's 100% reality. Where what else goes into the theory of gravity, right? Like let's talk about that. Same thing with medication and other pieces of the scientific and healthcare field, and even the field of philosophy. It's all theory, right?
Right.
Subjectively, it's right, but none of it is ever proven. And none of it is ever proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so I say that to say this: we've gotten to a point where we don't question it anymore. Where, oh my God, it's science, therefore it must be 100%. Oh my God, oh my God, it must be 100%. This is what the science says, and it's like, okay, well, science even shows compliance is critical too, but we've gotten to a point now in healthcare, and yeah, I'm gonna say healthcare. I'm gonna keep it with that because that's where my expertise lies. But we've gotten to a point in healthcare where at least the goddamn chart won't fucking relapse, but the patient will. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
how much more are we going to forget about people? I mean, the ideals that science was created for, right, was for people. But we keep running into the issuance of the Tuskegee syphilis study all over again. We keep running into the issues of why the Belmont report was created again. We keep running into all of these issues that we can't ever get past. You know, all of the historical crap and bullshit that of what built the healthcare field. Healthcare
Right.
field, like you said, is built on a lot of bullshit.
Yep.
Built on a
lots
lot
of
of bullshit,
oil.
right? Like let's look at why people didn't get the COVID vaccine. Why people, well, because there's a lot of medical mistrust. It's a lot of stuff. How do we bridge those gaps between medical mistrust versus, and actually quality qualitative helping of people? And I think it just starts with keeping an open mind and questioning, continuing to question, continuing to keep an open mind, continuing to rebuild that trust between the healthcare field and
Right.
science and people. I mean, when you go back and look at a lot of the studies, that's why now you have a lot of ethics on and laws around dual relationships, right? You can't have the researcher being an active participant in the research study, right? That's why we have that stuff now, all because of exactly what you were saying earlier is a lot of the early reports, and research is built on false information and what a lot of unethical stuff was put out there. I learned this when I was working on my dissertation and working on my PhD. um, a lot of the research that even showed there were no um, there was no evidence of, right, that showed lack thereof of evidence. A lot of that for years, decades, wasn't even published. It was never even published. People would go to submit the research, and all of these IRBs and medical institutions and healthcare clinical institutions and all of these all of those ball players, shall I say, absolutely not. We're not going to publish this. Why? Because it didn't fit your agenda. Like,
Right.
come on. Just because it doesn't show, just because CBT showed, I'm just, again, I'm not saying, as you were saying earlier, this is only an example. I'm not saying CBT doesn't work. It's just an example. But if a research study years ago showed that CBT was defective and harmed people, oh no, we're not going to publish that. Well, for what? Right. And again, I'm not saying CBT harms people by any means. CBT is just one form of therapy, right? But it goes back to what we're talking about right now. And
Right.
so we're continuing to re-experience and re-experience and re-experience the days of the Tuskegee study, the days of the Belmont, right? The days of all of this stuff.
Yeah, one thing that made me think of that is like I said, blood pressure and cholesterol. I know a lot about, right? I was given a lecture on creative thinking, and I just had an example in there about salt and blood pressure. That, you know, and then this guy comes up to me afterwards, after the lecture, and he goes, "You know, everything you just said about salt causing high blood pressure is bullshit, right?" I'm like, what? And he hands me a book that says "Salt Your Way to Health." He's the one that wrote it. I read it, and I'm like, so why is all doctors tell you salt increases your blood pressure? So I went and researched it. Here's the study that they did. They gave rats 50 times, not 50 times the daily allowance of salt, and their blood pressure went up 8 points. So the Surgeon General, in desperation, says we got to do something about all this elevated blood pressure. So he just grabbed onto that in the 70s. And nobody questioned it. There's no data. You know, Ken Berry would make that argument. He goes, your blood is so salty, it's unbelievable. Well, like cholesterol, he goes, if I reached into you and pulled cholesterol out of you, you would die in less than a fraction of a second. Instantly. You have to have it to live, right? So to your point, right? Go do your own homework, guys. I mean, you don't get off your meds and all that stuff, but go educate yourself. Don't take for granted what they're telling you, because they're not necessarily being evil. They don't know any better. They don't have the training, right? They just don't know the new research that's come out, right? Or somebody's looked at it or exposed something like I just said, or the guy that did the meta-analysis on LDL. Hey, go look at all this data. They cherry pick stuff, right? That didn't, to your point, this didn't do what I said it was going to do, so I ignored those 4 points. I get one quick rocket example there, and then we can wrap up, because I remember it was like the D5. So this is a nuclear submarine missile. Okay, comes out of the water. It uses air pressure, comes flying out of the water, and then it lights once it's out of the top of the ocean, and it blew up. Okay, so what we found out is it was overpressing because there was water in the nozzle. It sucked vacuum up, so when it fired, it had not a chamber large enough, right, for design, so it overpressured. Okay. So we're going through all this data. I'm presenting it. I'm on chart 257 or something. And a Navy guy goes, go back a chart. Goes back a chart. He's like, what's those 2 data points that are missing in the first couple hundred milliseconds? I'm like, so I was 28 years old, 30 at the time. I looked at the 2 old dudes who were 45 in the back of the room. It's like, hey, the C4 data, where are those 2 data points? And he goes, well, we whited them out. What do you mean you whited them out with whiteout? They go, because we knew it's impossible. What's impossible? That the pressure could be that high, so it had to be instrumentation error. I go, how many of them you whited out? All of them, since the history of C4. Why? Because it's impossible for the pressure to be that high. No, it wasn't. The pressure was that high, right? Because the water was in the chamber and made the pressure that high, just that the C4 predecessor had a large enough nozzle it didn't blow up. But we didn't discover that until D5, the next version of it. So the data was always there. There's a million rabbit holes we can go down, right? But it's like antimatter. When somebody said, you know what, that should exist, now that I proved it, it should exist on all these high-speed X-rays. But nobody's ever reported that. So it went back to them all, and it's on every one of them. Nobody was looking for it, so they didn't see it, right? History of science is littered with unbelievable amount of examples like that. Okay, we got off track from medical and mental health and stuff, but
That's
No,
okay.
look, this is exactly why, what we do. So you are good. You are good.
okay.
That combines in my old-fashioned statement of ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah.
People say that.
The data
Ignorance
is always
bliss.
there.
No, it's not. Right.
The data is always there. We just have to look through what is said, right? There's things, and this theory I think posits for even things that are printed, but over 60% of communication is nonverbal. Well, we have data that is sitting right in front of us, but it's not being talked about. It's not being researched. It's not being like it's not even being discussed.
Right.
This and that all of this stuff is called confounding variables. We think we know what confounding variables is when we start a study. We try our best to weed out the confounding variables. We're not ever 100%.
Sure. Right.
So I appreciate you being on. You have been very phenomenal.
Well, thank
And
you.
I know we do have to wrap up. I can't keep you here. I got a 6 o'clock appointment. So, with that being said, let's start the wrap up process. And folks, this is not his first, and well, this is his first time. This is not his only time coming on. Okay. We always wrap up with about 3 different questions. If people want to book you, if people want to, hire you as a coach, or even buy some of your stuff, how can they contact you? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, Resona, RESONA.health. There's no .com. Resona.health is the website. My name is Mark Fox. If you Google Mark Fox, you're going to find a Navy admiral, and a basketball coach. If you put in Mark L. Fox, my middle name's Lee, you will find so much information about me, and you'll be sorry you did, because your phone will see nothing but Facebook ads for me for the rest of your life. Okay. So go to Resona.health, or you could Google Mark L. Fox, and you'll find me all over the internet.
All right. And what is one thing that you hope people take away from this?
We just talked about it, right? Keep an open mind, right? Do your own research. Don't say PMF is a bunch of BS and can't work until you go do your own research. Look at the research we have. Look at the studies that we've done. Look at what the community's done. There's over 6,000 published papers on PubMed about this technology. NASA's been using it since the 70s. So it's real stuff. It's kind of like I said with liar, liar, pants on fire. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not real. So go educate yourself about it.
All right. And what is your call to action?
There's hope. You don't need to suffer, right? I mean, we're talking about mental health and stuff. There's hope for anxiety is one of the biggest things the devices are for. When we hire somebody new, this is what I tell them. I go, this will be the most satisfying job you've ever had in your life, but this is not Housewives of Orange County. This is not a reality show. These are people who have been tortured, hurt, cancer, death, right? These are real people that you're going to be talking to that are hurting, but you get to help them. And it's people's dogs and horses. So like I said, I'm not making any money, but this is the best job I've ever had in my life. I love it.
I love it. Folks, you've heard it best here again on the One Moment Podcast. Follow him on social media. Check his products out. And again, I want to reemphasize, we are a mental health, substance use, suicide prevention, all around healthcare podcast, healthcare wellness podcast. Everything that we do talk about is educational only. We never give clinical or medical advice. We only talk about things. And so, yeah, do your research. Nothing that we said today was giving him telling you what to do or what not to do. I want to also reemphasize exactly what we have said multiple times too. Do not stop taking medications. Do not, consult with a medical, professional over that. Consult with your psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever prescribes you your medication. Also there's what we call supplemental or supplements. There's also general wellness, things like that. As Mark said, I will second what he said. The research is starting to go in that area nowadays because you have a lot of the general public that is interested in things outside of the norms of healthcare. So do your research, folks. Do your research. Native people have been using this similar technology for years. Okay, for thousands of years. Our ancestors did. So, yeah, I mean, like, check it out. It's actually very interesting on the way all of this stuff works. So, that being said, thank you, Mr. Mark, for coming on. I do appreciate it.
for having
Trevor.
me.
Take
Guys,
care.
have a great
Absolutely.
weekend.
Don't hang up yet.
Yep.
Thank y'all.